Complete History of Maximus Boltagon, Earth 616, Part 1. Early Life. Maximus, an inhuman, was the second son of two of Italan's top geneticists, Agon, the head of the ruling council of geneticists, and Rinda, director of the prenatal care center subjected to the DNA-altering Turigen mist while still in his mother's womb. Rinda's powers allowed her to fire the Turigen that entered Maximus' body. On Agon's guidance, she ensured the Turigen concentrated on the baby's brain to grant him a heightened cognitive function, and also made it more pure, and thus closer to the Primagon of legend. Maximus' gift manifested in the form of increased intelligence and mental control, powers his parents determined were attuned to those of his elder brother Black Bolt, and vice versa. Maximus' powers additionally caused him to experience flashes of future memories as he matured. Maximus hid his developing psionic powers from the community but was less successful at disguising his antisocial tendencies. When he was about 16, Black Bolt was released from the protective chamber in which he had been confined since birth due to the destructive nature of his Turigen mutation. One of Maximus' first ploys was an unsuccessful attempt to force his brother to unleash his highly destructive vocal powers in order to have him reincarcerated. A month later, Black Bolt witnessed Maximus making a treacherous pact with an emissary of the Kree, the alien race responsible for genetically accelerating the Inhumans eons before. In addition to his objective of seizing the throne, Maximus was making a pact with the Kree in an attempt to learn more about the legendary Primagon, with which he had become obsessed in discovering 7 in an attempt to stop the fleeing emissaries so that he could be questioned by the ruling council. Black Bolt used his forbidden power of the quasi-sonic scream and blasted the alien ship out of the sky. When the ship crashed to Earth, it landed on the Parliament building, killing several key members of the Genetics Council, including the boy's parents. The reverberations of Black Bolt's voice also affected Maximus, who was standing nearby. Maximus' powers were expanded, allowing him to catch a small glimpse of every moment of his life all at once, driving him mad. The reaction also suppressed his nascent mental powers once it was over. After the Forgotten Reign, Black Bolt assumed the throne and Maximus vowed to oppose his brother and eventually usurp his rule. Maximus staged his first successful coup a few years later. By performing an illegal experiment on the Alpha Primitives, the subhuman worker clones that once served the Inhumans, Maximus created the Tricon, 3 bodiless energy beings of great destructive power. While the Tricon wreaked havoc in Italan, Maximus was able to drive the royal family of the Inhumans out of the city in search of the amnesiac Medusa 10 in the several-year interval before Black Bolt and his cousins located her in America. Maximus ruled Italan in Black Bolt's stead. Feeling secure in his position, Maximus bade his servant, the Seeker, to locate the royal family and bring them back to Italan. Immediately upon doing so, Black Bolt seized the crown back, to Maximus' dismay. Maximus, hoping to win back the public's affection, activated the Atmogun device he had been working on, a machine he believed would kill the human race and leave all other living beings intact. Maximus miscalculated, however, and the device had no effect. Out of spite, Maximus used the device to erect a negative barrier, a dark force sphere around Italan, imprisoning the entire race inside. For many months the Inhumans tried to find a way to get through the barrier. Maximus built the water circulation apparatus for Triton that allowed him to survive outside of water, which annoyed Gorgon because Maximus should be building a device to free them. Black Bolt eventually liberated his people by using his quasi-sonic voice to destroy the barrier, at the price of devastating Italan's ancient architecture. Maximus then allied himself with 6 inhuman criminals, sentenced for their treachery and subversive acts. Freeing Falcona, Ario, Stalior, Nebulo, Leonis, and Timrius from their place of imprisonment with the Hulk's aid, Maximus then tricked the Hulk into breaching the protective barrier guarding a forbidden chemical substance created by the inhuman scientist Romner centuries previous. This substance had certain highly unstable energy-absorbing capacities, and Maximus intended to use it to usurp the throne again. Black Bolt overpowered him before he could do so. Maximus succeeded in bringing about his second coup some months later. Drugging the royal family with will-deadening hypno potions, Maximus wrested the crown from Black Bolt and had the royal family imprisoned 18 before he could activate his hypnogun, which he believed would make all mankind surrender to his will. The royal family escaped and subdued him. Maximus' first coup had lasted several years, his second one several days. Escaping Italan with his band of renegades in a rocket, Maximus landed in the South American country of Costa Salvador, and attempted to build a will-deadening device similar to his hypnogun. His plans were opposed by the Hulk and the United States Army, however, and he and his allies were forced to flee again. Returning to Italan, Maximus was welcomed back by his brother Black Bolt, who preferred Maximus to be somewhere he could be watched. Black Bolt detected that Maximus' psionic powers, suppressed since he was an adolescent, were beginning to return. Offering no explanation, Black Bolt had Maximus placed in a suspended animation capsule, inside which he could not use his powers. Black Bolt's cousin Gorgon, however, objected to Black Bolt's inhumane treatment of Maximus and freed him. Maximus immediately used his mental powers to subjugate the minds of the inhuman populace and to give his brother Black Bolt amnesia. Maximus then restored the Dark Force barrier around Italan and began negotiations with the alien Kree to sell certain Inhumans to the Kree to be used as soldiers. Eventually Black Bolt's memory returned, and alongside the Avenger, he returned to Italan and once again destroyed the barrier. The Avengers drove the Kree agent away before he could accomplish his mission, and Black Bolt liberated the enslaved Inhumans. Maximus' third takeover of Italan lasted several weeks. With his mental powers traumatically submerged, Maximus escaped strict punishment for his treachery by feigning insanity. He then began work on his next project to usurp the throne, the construction of the android Omega, whose power source was supposedly the collective guilt evinced by the inhuman populace over their treatment of the subhuman alpha primitives. The Fantastic Four helped the royal family thwart the construct, and the damage it caused was slight. Maximus staged his fourth successful coup a short time later when the royal family had briefly left Italan on business. Taking Crystal and her husband Quicksilver captive, Maximus forced Black Bolt to give him the crown in order to spare their lives. Black Bolt did so, and allowed himself to be placed in captivity. Maximus had re-established contact with the Kree and had negotiated a deal where the Kree would take all of the Inhumans with extraordinary abilities. This would leave him the other half of the population to rule. Triton and Karnak managed to rescue most of Maximus' captives and outwit the Kree agent Shatterstar. Unaware of the victory, Black Bolt let loose with his quasi-sonic scream in agony, once again leveling the city. Angered by what had happened, Black Bolt struck Maximus for the first time and had him imprisoned. Maximus then allied himself with the Enclave, a band of human scientists who managed to capture Medusa. The Enclave wanted to conquer Italan and dispatched an aerial strike force. When the Enclave threatened to execute Medusa, however, Maximus turned on them out of unrequited passion for his brother's betrothed. A weapon Maximus was manning overloaded, leaving Maximus in a death-like coma. Black Bolt had his brother's body placed in a special crypt, and when Adalan was transported from the Earth to the Moon, Maximus accompanied it. On the Moon, Maximus' mind made contact with an alien power crystal located there, and it reawakened his dormant mental powers. When Black Bolt next came to pay his respects to his brother, Maximus was able to use his power to effect a transfer of consciousness between them. For several months Maximus ruled Adalan in Black Bolt's body as Black Bolt lay imprisoned in a tube. Re-establishing contact with the Enclave, Maximus helped them implement meteoroid launchers with which they intended to bombard Earth. With the aid of the Avengers, Maximus' switch was discovered, and the Enclave's schemes were foiled. Maximus was forced to return to his rightful body and was once again placed in solitary confinement. With an upcoming war between the United States government and the Inhumans, Maximus again plotted his revenge, taunting Black Bolt from his prison and trying to sway a distressed Medusa on his side. He in fact managed to convince Medusa to try to have Luna help cure him, only for Luna to realize too late that the cure instead allowed Maximus to gain control over all the other Inhumans. After the enhanced Marines managed to destroy Adalan, Maximus usurped the throne of the Inhumans from Black Bolt, taking Medusa as his queen, and announcing a new plan to conquer Earth. During Secret Invasion, Maximus killed the Skrull posing as a Hera. He then aided the Inhumans in fighting the Skrulls in their subsequent takeover of the Kree Empire. Maximus' inventions, previously locked away in the Chamber of Devices, were instrumental in the Inhumans' victory. During this period, though still insane, Maximus appeared to be more stable, especially when he was able to devote his energy and attention to his inventions, chief among them trying to adapt the Turigen mist to affect the Kree and encourage their evolution, though he was forced to focus on the war effort as the fight against Vulcan grew more difficult. 45 After Black Bolt's death and Medusa's ascension to the throne, now ruling both the Shi'ar and Kree empires, Maximus appeared to have turned against the Inhumans again, when it was discovered that he had created cybernetic beings disguised as Kree which had attacked Crystal and Ronan. However, when Crystal, Ronan, and Gorgon gathered a group to go after Maximus, he refused to fight them with his full abilities, and it was revealed that he was acting on Medusa's orders, creating threats against the Kree that the Inhumans could then defeat, so they would appear both powerful and dedicated to the protection of their subjects. As of War of Kings, Black Bolt has retaken the throne of the Inhumans. Maximus is still free and serves as Black Bolt's science advisor, devising war machines for the Kree to use against their adversaries, the Shi'ar. After Black Bolt's vanishing, during a time when the ruling of the various empires is up for dispute, Maximus is seen under the close supervision of Gorgon. His desired for something, anything to rule, are swiftly dismissed. As the Inhumans have solidified their position as the new rulers of the Kree people, Crystal and Ronan discover the Alpha Primitives begin to act up and Kree scientists are behind their growing madness and aggression. It is revealed Maximus is behind it all. Crystal, Gorgon, and Ronan attempt to confront him and are convinced he has in fact returned to his old ways. It is revealed, however, that he was acting under the orders of Medusa, who declared Maximus under her protection. Her growing coldness is baffling to Gorgon and Crystal as she explains that everything she ordered Maximus to do was intended to solidify the Inhumans' position as rulers of the Kree in showing that they were needed when faced with threats. Before Thanos' invasion on Earth, Maximus helped Black Bolt build a secret bomb which contained the Turigen mists. Once detonated, the bomb spread the Turigen mists upon the entire face of Earth, awakening the latent powers of millions of Inhuman descendants. When Black Bolt was kidnapped by Thanos' Black Order, Maximus helped the Illuminati find him. Black Bolt was found in Wakanda, where Thanos' Lieutenant Supergiant was planning to mind control him into activating the Illuminati's hidden arsenal of antimatter bombs. Once the Illuminati were defeated by a mind-controlled Black Bolt, Maximus appeared and taunted Supergiant, who was looking for the trigger of the bombs Maximus had found. Maximus triggered the bombs, but used Lockjaw to transport them along with Supergiant to a distant abandoned planet. Black Bolt was liberated, and left the scene along with Maximus and Lockjaw. In the Himalayas, Black Bolt hid the Inhuman Codex, and made Maximus understand his survival and that of his brother were to be kept a secret. Maximus also discovered that Black Bolt was going to activate the Turigen bomb anyways for a new age for the Inhumans to begin. Maximus became aware of Black Bolt's dealings with the Illuminati by placing a tracker on Lockjaw after Thanos' invasion. Maximus began accompanying his brother to the Illuminati meetings, and began aiding them in their quest to stop the incursions. Maximus was then able to mind control Black Bolt with his improved hypnogun based on Wakandan tech. They were found by Medusa's team of Nur and Aaron. He forced Black Bolt to use his voice to kill Aaron. Nur returned and shot him, freeing Black Bolt from his mind control. Black Bolt turned and whispered at Maximus, destroying his hands. While the Illuminati were off dealing with an incursion, Maximus took the opportunity to set his schemes into motion. He drilled a tiny hole in the amber prison containing Thanos, Proxima Midnight, and Corvus Glaive, allowing air to reach the slowly reforming body of Glaive, instantly restoring him. He also offered Black Swan an alliance. When the Illuminati resolved to accept their fate and allow their Earth to die, rather than destroy another inhabited Earth, Maximus and Namor freed the Illuminati's prisoners, and formed the Cabal, proceeding to kill other worlds to save their own. 8 months after the formation of the Cabal had found some degree of legitimacy on Earth. The world stood by and allowed the Cabal to raise Wakanda, and claim the ruins as their base of operations. The Cabal continued to protect the universe by destroying colliding Earths, but Namor had grown weary and disgusted with the Cabal's habit of engaging in wholesale slaughter of the colliding Earth's population, as opposed to simply planting the bomb and leaving. Namor, now willing to turn himself in for his crimes, devised a plan with the Illuminati to destroy the Cabal. A new incursion was on the horizon, one in which the incursive world had been ravaged by the Siderum Maris. Namor would lead the Cabal to said world, activate the antimatter injector without their knowledge, and leave them to die with said Earth, preventing them from escaping with the use of an AIM platform capable of creating an impenetrable barrier between the two colliding Earths. As the Cabal engaged the Siderum Maris in combat, Namor set his plan in motion. However, he was betrayed by Black Panther and Black Bolt, who pushed him off the platform into the soon-to-be-destroyed Earth. As the Cabal approached the fallen Namor, who lied about his intentions, they discovered an unusual event was occurring. The Earth they were in was, in addition, in an incursion with another universe at the same time. Unable to return to Earth 616, the Cabal made their way to the second incursion point, and escaped from the doomed planet into the third universe, the Ultimate Universe. Thanos and the Cabal allied with Earth 1610's Reed Richards, known as the Maker. The Maker introduced Maximus and Thanos to Earth 1610's Nick Fury, who tricked Fury into attacking Earth 616 in a futile attempt to stop the last incursion. The Cabal and Maker eventually worked together in order to build a vessel capable of surviving the end of all of reality, a life raft created based on stolen designs from Earth 616's Richards. During the final incursion, Earth 616 and Earth 1610 collided with each other and destroyed the world's respective universes. The Cabal along with the Maker survived on board their life raft. The life raft made its way toward Battle World, a patchwork planet composed of the remnants of realities, built and controlled by the now omnipotent Dr. Doom. After landing, the life raft's occupants remained in suspended animation for 8 years. After being accidentally freed from the vessel, the Cabal and the Maker drew the attention of Doom's police force, the Thor Corps. While they were confronting the army of Thors, survivors of Earth 616 soon joined the brawl, who had been recently freed from their own life raft by Doctor Strange, Doom's right-hand man and sheriff of Battle World. When Doom stepped in to confront the intruders, Strange chose to use his magic to teleport them away and scatter them throughout Battle World, to save them from God Doom's wrath. 3 weeks later, Maximus, going by the moniker as the Prophet, began an uprising against Emperor Doom and led an army toward Doom's capital of Doomstadt. Doom ordered some of his barons to stop Maximus' army before it caused too much trouble. Maximus and his army engaged Doom's barons and their forces near Castle Doom, where Maximus was apparently killed in the fighting. Following the restoration of the multiverse by a now omnipotent Reed Richards 80, Maximus was brought back to life and returned to Earth 616. Where he went into seclusion. One day, though, he was approached by his cousin Triton, who vented that he was unhappy with how Queen Medusa was ruling the Inhumans. Triton was also upset by the measured approach Medusa was showing against Iron Man, who the Inhumans harassed as punishment for kidnapping the Inhuman Ulysses Kane. Triton wanted Iron Man to pay even further and asked Maximus to help in his scheme. Maximus agreed and ratcheted up the war against Iron Man by convincing the Inhuman terrorist Lash and his group, the Tribe, to begin attacking targets belonging to Iron Man all over the world so Medusa and the Inhumans would get the blame. These targets included Stark Tower and a Stark Industries manufacturing facility in Switzerland. While New Italan was on lockdown after Queen Medusa left to investigate the attacks, Maximus convinced Triton to sneak him into New Italan through an underwater passage for an unexplained reason. Maximus first went through the city's detention area, where he found the Unspoken and Lineage imprisoned. Lineage asked Maximus to free him, but Maximus told him that now wasn't the time. Maximus then found the machine that controlled New Italan's lockdown function. With a push of a button, Maximus deactivated New Italan's lockdown. Much to Triton's shock, this allowed Iron Man to seize control of New Italan through the use of a contingent of Iron Man drones he controlled remotely. Iron Man then sealed New Italan in an energy barrier and refused to bring it down until Medusa surrendered herself. When Triton asked Maximus why he was doing this, Maximus simply said that he was doing it for fun. Triton eventually ran off to help his fellow Inhumans fight Iron Man, leaving Maximus to his own devices. When the fight between the Inhumans of New Italan and Iron Man's drones caused the barrier surrounding the city to disperse, Maximus took the opportunity to escape, but not before freeing the Unspoken and Lineage, who fled with Maximus on a powerboat. Several months later, Maximus grew bored and wanted to do something fun, but rejected his past schemes as he found them boring. When he turned on a television and witnessed news footage showing New Italan under attack by the X-Men as well as other mutants as part of a larger plan to rid the world of the remaining Turigen cloud, Maximus became struck with inspiration by the situation and came up with a new plan. Using the Unspoken's knowledge of the history of Inhumans and Lineage's power, Maximus was able to speak with the inhuman Moron and convinced him to reveal the recipe for Turigen crystals but left the unspoken and lineage out of the loop. He also killed Moron with a fork so he didn't reveal his plan. To carry out his plan, though, Maximus needed Triton who was being held in a Shield prison. So, he gave the unspoken the last remaining Turigen crystal, which gave him enough temporary power to break Triton out. Maximus then explained his plan to his allies. He would make Turigen crystals and use them to end the war between the Inhumans and the mutants. Triton grudgingly agreed to help Maximus in the endeavor. The first location Maximus and his companions traveled was the South China Sea, where they journeyed inside the digestive tract of a large, underwater creature. After fighting off some humanoid, crustacean-like creatures, the four entered the court of the Ma Queen. Next to her was a bowl full of deep eggs, one of the ingredients in the production of Turigen crystals. Maximus offered the Ma Queen the Unspoken's hand in marriage as he was a kind in exchange for some deep eggs. When the Unspoken refused, Maximus used his mind control to force him to accept the deal. After that, Maximus, Triton, and lineage traveled to other remote places around the world to obtain the necessary ingredients. At their final destination in Mumbai, India, Maximus admitted to his companions that not everything they collected was needed for the recipe, as he wanted to keep them guessing what the recipe actually was. After getting the final ingredient from a spice shop, Maximus introduced Triton and lineage to their new ally, the Inhuman Banyan, who agreed to help them recruit the Inhuman Kluge so he could build a machine to manufacture the Turigen crystals. Banyan took Maximus, Triton, and lineage to a warehouse where he had set up a factory and had hired workers to operate it, including Kluge. Maximus forced Banyan, Triton, and lineage out of the warehouse so he and Kluge could work privately on the production of Turigen crystals. Not trusting Maximus, Triton asked lineage to help him kill Maximus once he was done making Turigen crystals. Days later, Maximus emerged from the factory and revealed what he and Kluge had been working on. Instead of Turigen crystals, however, they had constructed a large robot. Maximus explained that he planned to use the robot to fight the mutants attacking his fellow Inhumans and had abandoned the idea of making Turigen crystals because he found it boring. Then the huge creature that the Ma Queen and her court lived in appeared under the control of the Unspoken. The Unspoken had tricked the Ma Queen into helping him kill Maximus in exchange for spawning with her. Maximus and Kluge quickly entered the robot and piloted it to fight off the Unspoken. After using the robot's glowing green sword to kill the creature, Maximus discovered that the Unspoken had become embedded on the sword's tip. Maximus then learned from Kluge that the robot and its sword were powered by Turigen energy. This allowed the Unspoken to power himself using the Turigen energy powering the robot and grew several times larger than Maximus' robot. The Unspoken ripped the robot in half and walked off to take over the world, suddenly deciding to become a hero. Maximus used his telepathy to take over the Unspoken's mind and force him to release all of the Turigen energy he absorbed into space, forcing him to return to his unpowered state. Maximus then explained to his companions that his reason for abandoning the idea for making Turigen crystals was that in order for Inhumans to evolve, they needed to stop relying on them. Triton pointed out that Maximus' knowledge of Turigen crystal formula could also be used as a bargaining chip to ensure his own survival. In the meantime, mutants and Inhumans had solved their conflict. In the end, Medusa destroyed the Turigen cloud, sparing mutant kind but ridding the earth of essentially all traces of Turigen left, thus potentially dooming inhumanity to a future with no more terrigenesis.